Welcoming the Dean of the Division of Humanities, Tim Stoll.
Thank you, graduates and parents and families and friends of graduates. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate all of our grads who are here today. Your studies in humanities at UCLA have provided you with an in-depth understanding in the various academic disciplines that you have decided to specialize in. And your time here has prepared you to be intellectually informed citizens. You should be proud of your achievements here, and I wish you the best of luck in your postgraduate careers. I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Jeffrey Cunard. A distinguished alumnus of UCLA's English and Political Science departments, Jeff is an accomplished attorney and an authority on internet and cyber law. He is a managing partner at the international law firm of Debevoise Plimpton in Washington, D.C., where he heads the corporate intellectual property and information technology practices. Jeffrey has written books and articles in the field of intellectual property and has shared his expertise by teaching at Harvard Law School and serving as co-director of the clinical program at the Berkman Center for Internet and Society at Harvard University. In addition to his professional endeavors, Jeff is a great supporter of the arts. He has served as chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Freer Gallery of Art and Arthur M. Sackler Gallery, the Smithsonian's Museums of Asian Art, and as counsel to the College Art Association, and as president of the Woolly Mammoth Theater Company, to name just a few. As a student at UCLA, Jeff graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa, and earned the Barbara Ladd Gates Award for Intellectual Accomplishment, the Franklin P. Rolfe Phi Beta Kappa Award, and the Department of English Senior Prize, not to mention the, well, I guess I will mention, the University of California President's Undergraduate Fellowship. A true Bruin, Jeff never missed a single home game played by UCLA's baseball and football teams while he was here. Please join me in welcoming Jeffrey Cunard.
Thank you, Dean Stoll, for that introduction, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this commencement celebration at my beloved alma mater. Being here at Royce Hall, which has so many fond memories for me, is indeed a great honor. Over the last few months, I have reflected on my own UCLA commencement celebration a mere 34 years ago. I fondly recall being with my family and friends at the time and thinking about my college experience. But for the life of me, I have no recollection of the speaker, much less what was said. So it might be nice if you remember me for all of 34 days or even hours, but I surely won't get my hopes up. Now, I may be the final obstacle standing between you and your well-deserved handshake from the dean and department chair and the photo opportunity over here. I have no desire to instigate an uprising inspired by Dick the Butcher, the aptly named character in Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 2, who famously proclaimed, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." Now, as graduates of the Division of the Humanities, you have studied European or Asian languages, literature, and linguistics, and many of you may have been asked over the last 4 years, why are you studying that? Now, I am probably not going out on a limb to speculate about one fairly obvious reason, a passion for literature and languages. Perhaps underpinning that question, however, is the idea that a university education is only meaningful if it is the key for unlocking economic opportunities, job success, and expanded earning power. And the query might just sting a bit more than usual, coming in the midst of a sluggish economy nationally, and especially here in California. With challenging job prospects, some may even be skeptical of the value of a major in the humanities. Now, I'd like to say a few words this afternoon to confirm the wisdom of your choices and perhaps to bolster your confidence as you look ahead. As you heard, I've devoted most of my life as an attorney to technology, media, and intellectual property issues. I counsel clients, litigate cases, advise on business transactions, and teach and write about the intersection of law and technology. But having majored here in English and political science, I now take pride in having become somewhat tech-savvy, or at least I play a good game of it, without having spent too much time on South Campus, except for the regular trip, of course, to the bomb shelter. Now, how did that happen? After UCLA, I went to law school, and I ended up at a law firm in Washington. In my first weeks there, I was asked to work on novel copyright issues involving the legality of Sony's then path-breaking technology, the Betamax video cassette recorder. Maybe some of you have even heard of this primordial ancestor of the TiVo. On that particular matter, and on many others that followed, I became fascinated by the relationship between technological innovation and the law. And what prepared me best for this pathway was what I learned here at UCLA: how to think critically, write clearly, and argue persuasively. My belief in the wisdom of a liberal arts degree does not spring solely from my own experiences, of course. Instead, the arguments for a humanities education rests on foundations that are much, much stronger. First, what you have developed and honed as a student of the humanities is priceless. Openness to the world at large, critical engagement with texts and complex ideas, and mental agility. Throughout your lives, you are likely to have many jobs, and indeed, for some of you, multiple careers. A recent survey asked employers to rate the most important intellectual and practical skills for employees. The top two: the ability to communicate effectively, followed by critical thinking and analytical reasoning skills. Well, those are the sweet spots of a graduate in the humanities. Second, beyond your pursuit of fulfilling professional careers, you will continue to develop as a person. And with a grounding in the humanities, you are likely to have a lifelong commitment to self-enrichment. Although I chose to enter law school instead of seeking an English PhD, I never abandoned my own deep-seated interests, nurtured here at UCLA, in literature, theater, music, opera and dance, the visual arts, and world culture. I've had the opportunity to travel much of the world and to pursue the rich artistic, musical, and cultural offerings of this country and many other countries. I've served, as you heard, on not-for-profit boards of leading arts and cultural institutions, where I have pursued my personal passion for Asian culture, art history, and the performing and visual arts. As satisfying as these activities have been, they are no mere hobbies, nor are they just an appendage to the rest of my life. They have made me more effective in my dealings with colleagues and clients. They have also made me a more complete human being. You each will have your own journey of lifelong learning and community service, and I expect that you too will find that it furthers your professional development. The third foundation of a humanities education is an understanding of our own culture, and as you've learned, the humanities help to develop respect for the cultures of others. These include, perhaps most significantly, cultures that are quite different, whether in historical time or in geography, from our own. And this is true whether you studied languages, literature, or culture, whether the poetry of the French surrealists, the novels of Tolstoy, the poetry of Pushkin, the works of Goethe or Kant, the dramas of Ibsen or Danish folklore, classical Chinese poetry, Korean Buddhism, South Asian cinema, the tale of Genji, Spanish, Brazilian, or Chicano literature, or semantics or phonetics. You are diverse, and your lives are and increasingly will be multicultural and international. Your education here has been the ideal preparation for meaningful global civic engagement and to position you to become a contributing citizen of this country and the world. In short, your education has been essential training for the complete 21st century life. Let me inject one other note. In a time of strapped budgets, it can be tempting to reduce support for a varied and diverse humanities curriculum. In the name of belt-tightening or under the guise of channeling scarce funds into programs that may seem more relevant in today's job market. To sacrifice funds for the humanities, though, is nothing less than sacrificing an essential attribute of who we are. Listen to the words of the English poet and essayist Matthew Arnold, who wrote in 1869 that the men, and we would now add, of course, today the women, of culture are the true apostles of equality. They are those who have had a passion for diffusing, for carrying from one end of society to other, the best knowledge, the best ideas of their time. And as I have said, it was probably passion that propelled you into your major. That is the flame you should keep burning bright as you both diffuse and absorb knowledge in the years to come. The quest for lifelong knowledge is a journey that is incomparably easier today than in the past, given our ability to access a seemingly infinite supply of information. Technology has transformed not only formal learning in the classroom, but also the informal accretion of knowledge over a lifetime. And through social networks, technology allows us to share mountains of information about or with people who are, or at least claim to be, our friends. As an intellectual property lawyer, I have watched these technological advances with excitement and occasional queasiness. When I taught at Harvard Law School a few years back, I met John Palfrey, who authored the book Born Digital. The book looks at the first generation of digital natives, young people who live their lives online and who include, I suspect, quite a few of you who are graduating here today. The book describes generational shifts in the use of technology, and for that reason, I particularly recommend it to the parents here today, those of a generation that the book describes as digital immigrants. Professor Palfrey talks of the post-1980 generation as digital natives, quote, who have created a 24/7 network that blends the human with the technical to a degree we haven't experienced before, and it is transforming human relationships in fundamental ways. Now, as a technology lawyer and user, I welcome technological progress and innovation. Technology enhances our lives. It can make our work easier, even if sometimes a bit too fast-paced. It brings much of the world's information to our desktop or our smartphone. Technology does, however, have the effect Palfrey described of transforming human relationships, and not always in ways we should welcome. We should pause frequently to contemplate how technology affects not only our more reflective natures, but also our daily human interactions. Henry David Thoreau, the great American writer, is not a name typically invoked when talking about technology. But in Walden, he made a trenchant observation about the cutting-edge communications technology of 1854 that rings true today in 2011. Our inventions, he wrote, are wont to be pretty toys which distract our attention from serious things. They are but improved means to an unimproved end. We are in great haste to construct a magnetic telegraph from Maine to Texas, but Maine and Texas, it may be, have nothing important to communicate. Just last month, Bill Keller, the executive editor of the New York Times, had a similar thought. He wrote that, quote, the new technologies overtaking us may be eroding characteristics that are essentially human, our ability to reflect, our pursuit of meaning, genuine empathy, a sense of community connected by something deeper than a snark or political affinity. Fundamentally, what matters not is the technology that we use to communicate, but what it is that we communicate. What also matters is communicating effectively, sympathetically, and persuasively. It is in this context that I offer you one, and really only just one, piece of advice in this commencement speech. Play nice, live by the golden rule. Today, it's easier than ever to impart the biting riposte and broadcast it to the world, whether by sending an angry email, flaming a merchant, or posting a hectoring video on YouTube. We can all be tempted to yield to the heat of the moment, but as I tell my clients, or as they often learn the hard way, once it's in cyberspace, it just never goes away, ever. So think before clicking send. How will an intemperate email or post affect others? Do you really want to be associated with it years from now? One of the values of a humanities degree, I hope, is learning to engage in discourse that is informed and, above all, civil. Lawyers often talk about the nature of discourse in the courtroom. Discussions of civil, or as it happens, uncivil discourse have long been part of the fractious political culture of Washington. On this point, as I've traveled around the world, in some cultures, the sharp word is met with silence or an icy smile, and overt displays of anger are treated as embarrassing and counterproductive. I have learned an important life lesson. Nasty is seldom, if ever, really effective, and it is almost always destructive. Being nice, though, doesn't mean being squishy. Having strongly held beliefs and acting on them is crucial to the well-lived, good life. It is essential to what I mean by being passionate. But, at the risk of having Dick the Butcher's wish for a lawyer-free utopia come true this afternoon, I will now stop. Thank you all for listening, and thank you to UCLA for not just the invitation to speak, but for giving me the thrill of studying here and the passion to pursue a lifetime of learning. Thanks.